So, you finished a songwriting session with your friends or a specific artist. You put all your gear away and now you're mixing your track. You've added some reverb and delay, but it's still not sitting quite right. It's lacking some weight, maybe even some width. And you don't want to reach for a chorus plugin because it has that sound that choruses have, and that's not the vibe you're going for. So what do? This is where I reach for my secret weapon. This plugin creates natural sounding new takes of your vocal to add depth and width, all from a single performance. It's so easy to use, and it's been purposefully designed for vocals. But I've also found that it sounds really good on a variety of instruments. So if your vocalist has already left, or you don't want to book more studio time, or you're simply trying something out creatively in your mix, there's no need to waste time or spend loads of money. Let's jump into our session. Okay, so I'm working on this track at the moment, and the lead vocal sounds pretty good, but I feel like it's just struggling to compete with the weight and the impact of the instrumental. So let's have a listen to it and see what we think.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential.
Just gonna turn the effects off.
I know I talk too much instead of trying to get out my goddamn head. Let's face it, maybe it's better left unsaid.
So it sounds really good, but I feel like we can take it a little bit further because at the moment, this singular vocal is just struggling to compete with this massive arrangement. So let's try and use one of my favorite tools. It's called the VoxDoubler, and the VoxDoubler comes in two different packages. It comes in Thicken, which adds depth, and Widen, which, as you might have imagined, adds width. So let's just start with the Thicken tool. So I'm going to create a send here on my lead vocal sum. And I'm going to set this to Unity, and I'm going to name this VoxDoubler Thicken. So because I popped Thicken on an auxiliary track, I'm going to pop this into aux mode. And basically what this does is usually when we just have access to the mix knob, this will give us anywhere between 100% of the dry signal and 100% of the process signal, and anywhere in between from 0 to 100. But the aux mode actually allows us to remove that dry vocal so that we can then blend it in with our sum here. And instead, we'll be blending in the process signal using the auxiliary send here. And what I'm going to do just while I remember is I'm going to pop the send into mono mode. And essentially all we're going to hear now is how the stacked vocal sounds in mono. So imagine you've got loads of vocal takes and they're all stacked down the middle. So let's just have a listen to what Thicken sounds like right out of the gate with the default settings.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential.
So already I think it sounds really good, but I reckon we can get it even tighter. So let's take a look at this bottom left of the plugin, and you can see two parameters here, timing and pitch. The timing knob allows you to affect how tight and how loose the new performance is. And the pitch parameter allows you to affect how in tune and how pitchy this new vocal is. Let me just show you what it sounds like at 100%.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential.
And you might be thinking, why on earth would I ever have it at 100%? I'm always going to bring it down. And certainly with melodic content like a lead vocal, you would probably want it a lot tighter. But in things where there's less melodic information, so think like a screamo vocal, maybe a rap vocal, actually adding a lot of pitch content can really help to thicken out that track where melodic content isn't as important. And similarly with timing. Timing can be really great if you're looking to stack a lead vocal, but you may want to loosen up this performance if you're trying to kind of blend all of these things together. Maybe you've got some oohs, some ahs, maybe you've got a choir. That can really help smear it all together in a really pleasing way by increasing the timing parameter. So let's have a listen to what we've got here. I'm going to put them back to default and let's try and tighten this up.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential.
I already think this sounds a lot tighter and in the context of this song, a lot better. That's because this timing and pitch parameter isn't purely just like how far it's offsetting the timing of the vocal and how far it's offsetting the pitch of the vocal. like you might have in an ADT. And it's similarly not manipulating an LFO like a chorus. Thicken is actually breaking up the vocal performance into 5 categorizations of sound: plosive, transitions, vowels, consonants, and transitions. And it's manipulating these different chunks of audio in different ways depending on how it's categorized the sound. So the timing and pitch knobs are actually affecting sort of how drastic, how dramatic this dynamic relationship is between time and pitch. And that's how we're able to achieve that pseudo vocal performance out of this plugin. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start to use this depth knob here. And this just allows me to adjust how upfront this new process vocal is and how far back I want to push it. The further you crank this depth knob, the more that this new process thicken vocal will go further back in the mix. So let's have a listen to that and see if we can tweak this even further.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential, potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential.
And lastly, we have this tone knob. And what this is doing is this is basically a tilt EQ. Use it to either brighten or darken your new stacked vocal. And you might want to use this tone knob to add more detail back into the consonants, but similarly to darken up the new stacked vocal and really blend it in, particularly in those choir situations or those oohs and those ahs, BVs that we were talking about earlier.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential, potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential. Oh, yeah, I know I talk too much instead.
Right, let's hear it bypassed.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential.
And let's hear it in.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential.
And let's hear it in the context of the mix.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential, potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential.
And what we can also do is we can affect how much of this sound that we're getting by affecting the send level. So I'm just going to pull that back a little bit and just let it really sit in the mix.
I know I talk too much instead of trying to get out my goddamn head. Let's face it, maybe it's better left unsaid.
So that to me is already just sounding so much better. And we can actually take this even further. So let's pull up VoxDoubler's counterpart, which is Widen. So let's set up a new bus and let's make this bus stereo because obviously we're going to need it to be stereo to affect the width information. Let's add Widen on there. I'm going to set it at unity again. And let's just hear how it sounds right out the gate.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential, potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential.
So I already think it sounds really good, but again, I reckon we could take this even further. So all of the same parameters apply, but this time we're affecting the width information. So this time, because we've got it in stereo, we've actually got access to this width parameter here. We can click on these buttons on the left, top, and right of the knob, and this is going to take us from mono, sort of 50% left and right, all the way to hardstyle left and right. And this is basically just your panning information. I quite like how it sounds at the 50% left and right because that gives me a little bit more stereo room to place things like my synths and stuff that I want to kind of push even wider. But make sure to have a play around with this and see where it sits right in your mix.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential, potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential. Oh, yeah, I know I talk too much instead of trying to get out my goddamn head. Let's face it.
Might actually sound just a little bit nicer at 55%. Let's have a mess around with this timing and these pitch knobs now. Again, we're going to be affecting how tight or how loose the vocal performance is and how pitchy and how in tune it is.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential, potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential. Oh, yeah, I know I talk too much instead of trying to get out my goddamn head.
It's starting to sound more like a slapback delay now.
Maybe it's better left unsaid. Can you feel it go? You lose your potential, potential.
Let's drop them a little bit further back in the mix using the depth knob. Introduce a little bit more detail in the consonants. Fantastic. I mean, I already think that sounds great. How easy was that? And the nice thing is that if you route these properly, they can all be routed into your vocal effects and they can sound really complementary in the mix. So let's turn all of our reverbs and delays on now, and let's have a listen to how this sounds.
Can you feel it go? You lose your potential. I feel the fading, I'm not essential. Oh, yeah, I know I talk too much instead of trying to get out my goddamn head. Let's face it, maybe it's better left unsaid.
And there you have it. So that's VoxDoubler Widen and VoxDoubler Thicken. Use Thicken to create depth, Widen to create width, and really allow your vocal to go from isolated to really blended in that mix and just slotting right in there like a puzzle piece. And yeah, if you'd like to check out these plugins, visit sonnox.com and take a look at the product page. I'll actually drop a link in the description. Make sure to drop a like if you like this video, drop us some feedback in the comments, and subscribe for more mixing content every week. And yeah, see you in the next one.